Hello friends, and welcome to Butterfly Meadows Home and Farm. I'm Dorinda, and today we are going to be canning sweet potatoes. So the first thing you need to do before you can your sweet potatoes is, of course, to wash them, and I have some here that I've already washed, and then you need to remove the skin. There are a couple of different ways to do this. The most common way is to blanch or steam the sweet potato and then let it cool just a little bit, and you can just peel the skin right off. But I have here the ones that I'm going to can, then I've already peeled these. I did not blanch them or steam them, I just peeled them. And the reason I did that was some of these were going bad and I had to cut out a lot of bad places, and I didn't want to put all of that in my water and steam them. So I went ahead and I peeled these sweet potatoes. The way I peeled mine was just like I would peel any potato without blanching it. But in order to can them, I still need to get them hot. So I have here on the stove a pot of water that is hot, and I'm going to turn it on, and when it comes to a boil, I will drop my sweet potatoes in there for at least about 3 minutes just to get them hot, and then I'll place them in my jars. So let's go ahead and slice up our sweet potatoes. So we're just going to take our sweet potatoes and cut off any places that we might find on them, and I'm going to cut them into fairly large chunks. You don't want to cut them too small because they will turn to mush while you're canning them if you do. So what I did was yesterday, last night, I peeled all of my potatoes and put them in this bowl of water and covered them so that I could can them today, because peeling them was quite a job. Just a few fun facts about sweet potatoes that you may or may not know, but a sweet potato is not in the same family as a white potato that we eat, that we use for baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, those kinds of things. It's not, I don't know the exact name, but it's not in the same family. And a sweet potato, if you've ever grown sweet potatoes, then you know that a sweet potato is grown from what is called, I think most people call, a sweet potato slip, which is just a little, a start of the plant, and there's no actual potato attached to it when you plant it. And a white potato, of course, you plant the seed potato and the potatoes grow and multiply from that. But a sweet potato is grown from a slip, so you could plant, you could get multiple plants from one sweet potato. If I'm not mistaken, the sweet potato belongs to the morning glory family, and it grows when you plant them. They grow, they spread. They're a big vine, and they just spread like morning glories do. They're really quite invasive in your garden. You kind of need a dedicated place to plant your sweet potatoes because they just spread everywhere. Okay, so now we have our sweet potatoes all sliced up, and I have my water boiling that I am going to use to blanch them in. And so I'm just going to put as many as I can into the boiling water. And I'm thinking I'm going to do 4 quarts at a time, and that is probably more than 4 quarts there. And I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. And I'm just going to blanch them for 3 minutes. So while they are in the boiling water for the 3 minutes, I'm going to rinse my jars. They're clean. These jars have already been run through the dishwasher and are clean, but I need them to be hot so that when I put my hot potatoes in the jars, that it doesn't shock the jar and cause it to crack. And over here in this pot, I have a simple syrup made from 2 quarts of water, filtered water, and about 2 cups of brown sugar. You could do 4 cups of brown sugar, but I did 2 cups. I just want a light syrup. You can just put plain water on your sweet potatoes, but I want to put a little bit of a sweeter water So I made a light simple syrup here to put on the sweet potatoes. Okay, our timer is done. So I'm going to turn off the sweet potatoes and we are going to put them in the jar. My syrup is also hot, and whenever you are canning, if whatever you are putting in the jar is hot, make sure your jars are hot, and then everything that goes in is hot, because you don't want to shock the jar. If you put hot things in a cold jar, it could crack. If you put cold things in a hot jar, it could crack. So you just want to make everything as close to the same temperature as possible. And I'm going to fill these jars to 1-inch headspace. Now some people add salt when they are canning their sweet potatoes. That is completely optional. The salt does not affect the preservation of the potato. It is strictly for taste, and I prefer to salt almost everything I can when I'm preparing it, not while I'm canning it. Now I'm going to debubble. And the reason we debubble is sometimes there are little pockets of air inside the jar between the food, and air does not heat to the same temperature as liquid, and the reason we can it is to bring it to a certain temperature to kill botulism, and so we don't want any pockets of air that could harbor bacteria. Okay, and the reason we wipe the tops of our jars is because we don't want any kind of debris to be, sorry, I'm trying to get these paper towels apart. We don't want any kind of debris or sugar, granules, or anything to be between this jar rim and our lid, because we want a good seal. This is also a good time to check your jars for any kind of a nick. If there's any kind of a nick or crack in the top of this jar, that would jeopardize your seal as well. And I have my clean new lids here. You do not have to boil your lids anymore. That used to be something you had to do. You don't have to do that anymore. They made some kind of a change, and you just don't have to do that. You put your rings on finger tight, and a good way to tell finger tight is without holding to the jar. When you twist it and the jar starts to move, that's tight enough. And the reason is we want the air to be able to escape from the jar, because we're trying to get all the air out of the jar. And once the air escapes, that will cause the lid to be sucked down, and that's what makes our seal. So don't ring your rings on really tight, just finger tight, and that's a good test right there. See, the jar turns. So hopefully the light is enough for you to see. Here I have my Carry electric canner is what I'm using today, and it holds 4 quarts. I have my rack in the bottom of my canner, and my canner, you need to check the instructions for yours. Mine calls for 2 quarts of water, and this water is hot, not extremely hot, but it's warm. It was hot when I put it in the jar, because remember, we want everything to be the same temperature, so I wouldn't want to put my hot jars down into cold water. I'm going to place my jars in, set my weight to exhaust because I'm going to let it vent for 10 minutes. Put it on high. Quarts of sweet potatoes processed for 90 minutes. Now what will happen is this will circle around as the contents on the inside heat up, and when it comes to temperature and starts to steam, it will vent for 10 minutes. A little timer will come up for 10 minutes, and after that 10 minutes it will beep to let me know I need to turn my exhaust tight. And once I do that, it will come to pressure and start the countdown for 90 minutes. And I will bring you back when I'm ready to take them out of the canner. Okay guys, so our canner has finished and all the pressure is left, so there's no pressure in the canner, and we can take our jars out of the canner. And as you can see, they're still boiling. We're just going to let them sit here until they cool completely. In the morning, I will take off the rings and wipe off the jars and label the top, what I have in there, and put the month and the year so I'll know when I canned them. And they will be good on my pantry shelf until I need them, however long that may be. And you can use these sweet potatoes in casseroles. You can take them out and bake them like you would, you know, with the marshmallows and brown sugar. Really just any way you would want to use a regular sweet potato, you can use these. And I'm so glad you stopped by today. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope if you liked this video, you'll watch some of my other videos, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. God bless. Bye-bye.